Hello everyone, welcome to my backyard. My name is Josh Willms. I'm the MCBC Mennonite Church BC Youth Director, as well as the Youth Pastor at Level Ground Mennonite Church here in Abbotsford. So when Kevin and I were talking about recording a sermon in the Psalms for the series, I was naturally drawn to Psalm 23. This is one of, if not the, most famous and well-known psalm in the Bible. I was unaware, however, of another Willms, my Uncle Ed, that was going to be preaching on the same psalm in the same series. So now you can all reap the shared wisdom of two generations of Willms pastors on Psalm 23. So it's no need to thank me or thank Ed. You're welcome. So the Psalms. A bit of background before we jump into Psalm 23. The book we call Psalms are a compilation of the greatest hits of ancient Hebrew poetry. Now, ancient biblical Hebrew poetry is not your typical rhyming poetry that you would read in English class, for example. It does not include iambic pentameter, and yes, I had to practice saying that, as famous poets like William Shakespeare used. We're not reading limericks or haikus here. Ancient Hebrew poets used metaphors to convey powerful images in very few words. And if you spend any time reading the Psalms, you will recognize the varying voices that seem to be in conversation with one another in this book. You have Psalms that are praising God for his faithfulness, Psalms crying out to God because he has abandoned his people and broken his promises, along with everything in between. The theologian Walter Brueggemann organized the Psalms into three categories that I find a helpful framework. Firstly, we have Psalms of orientation. God is present. God listens. God responds. The world works as it should. Secondly, we have Psalms of disorientation. God is not present. God does not listen. God doesn't respond, and the world is broken. And thirdly, we have Psalms of new orientation. Disorientation is resolved, chaos is ordered, and God responds eventually. So the psalmists are in dialogue with one another. It's a conversation. Brueggemann seems to be saying, look at how diverse the Psalms are. There's not much rhyme or reason to when any one voice shows up. Some Psalms orient us. They confirm that God is loving, is present with us, and God can be trusted. And then others cry out, where are you, God? This isn't working. Something is broken. I have enemies all around me. God, you don't care. And then others add another layer by countering, I know what you mean, but stick with it. It does work. It did for me, and I believe it will work for you too. The thing I love about poetry is that imagery and metaphors have the power to transport us as the reader to where the author, or in this case the psalmist, wants to take us. So through this ancient biblical Hebrew poetry, we are connected to the life of faith, both then and now. We all experience times of orientation, disorientation, and new orientation. And the Psalms have a way of giving voice to our trust in God, and at the same time, validating our experiences of pain and our suffering in this world. I've titled this sermon, The God Who Is With Us. And Psalm 23, for me, gives a beautiful picture of what that looks like. So in a moment, I will read the psalm for us, and as I read, I encourage you to reflect on the words being said, and use your imagination to engage with the images that appear in your mind. And if it helps, feel free to close your eyes as I read. Psalm 23, a psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. You are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So David uses two metaphors in this psalm to describe what God is like. The first is that of the shepherd, and the second is that of the host. Both of these images would have been very familiar to David personally, given how he grew up taking care of his father's sheep, as well as to the broader culture of the ancient Near East at the time. Likewise, hospitality was vital for good relations between families, between tribes, and between nations, just as it is today. So let's dive into these two metaphors together. The line, "The Lord is my shepherd," is not just describing God's good shepherd-like care for his people. It's a statement of God's kingship. Shepherding in the ancient Near East is a kingly metaphor. Much like a shepherd cares for his sheep, a king had to provide protection and provision for his people. Psalm 23 gives us an understanding that God is not some distant being, living in the clouds out of touch with our world. It's the exact opposite. God is close. The language of the psalm is one of hospitality, of guidance, it's of direction and presence. If any of you have ever had an experience working with animals on a farm before, you know it's a very hands-on profession. In high school, I worked on a couple of dairy farms for a few years, and let me tell you, you have to get up close and personal with the animals. Everything from feeding the calves by hand, to trimming their hooves, to making sure the animals are fed daily, keeping them healthy, scraping the barns free of manure every day. All of that is hands-on work. So let's revisit this metaphor. God being the shepherd. God, my shepherd. I don't need a thing. You have bedded me down in lush meadows. You find me quiet pools to drink from. True to your word, you let me catch my breath. And you send me in the right direction. Even when the way goes through Death Valley, I am not afraid when you walk at my side. Your trusty shepherd's crook makes me feel secure. This is the talk of a herdsman, of a farmer. David has experienced a God who is present, who is up close, who cares for him, just as he cared for the sheep in his charge as a young man. This is a God that knows us intimately. You can't care for animals without getting to know them, their needs, even their personalities. And trust me, cows definitely have personalities, let me tell you. Psalm 23 is about life. Putting daily activities such as eating, drinking, seeking security and safety in a radically God-centered perspective. So let's take a look at the second metaphor that David uses, the host. So as a host, God protects David. He provides a much-needed meal for him. He anoints his head with oil, honoring him as a special guest at a banquet. So I don't know about you, but I love to host. I love having a full house of friends and family, everyone having a good time, enjoying good food and drink and conversation together. I want to make sure that everyone has enough. Everyone's enjoying themselves. Everyone leaves feeling content and blessed by the host's ability to share what they have with their guests. I want people to leave feeling honored. Every Christmas Eve, we have a tradition in my house. We gather as extended family from both sides, Alicia, my wife, side, and mine, and we celebrate together. We enjoy good food and drink and enjoy each other's company. When Emmett, my oldest, was around 2 years old or so, we were all celebrating together in our living room, and it was amazing to watch Emmett come into the room in his power wheelchair, moving from group to group, checking in with everyone, saying hi, mingling as a 2-year-old, and making everyone feel right at home. He didn't leave anyone out. It was amazing, making sure to check in with all of his people. And for me, that's the image of being a good host. This leads us to the final line for me. That's at the very heart of this psalm. So our God, our host, our shepherd is with us. He's present. This leads me to for me anyway, the pivotal line in this psalm, you are with me. God is with us. One of the defining moments of my life was the day that we received my son Emmett's diagnosis. Emmett was born with spinal muscular atrophy, type 1, a neuromuscular disease. He was diagnosed at 5 months of age, and hearing that our 5-month-old son had only months left to live was the most heartbreaking, earth-shattering, mind-numbing experience. Where is God in times such as these? In the days and months after the diagnosis, I felt completely shattered, hollowed out and empty. I kept praying for a miracle, praying for the pain to end for my wife Alicia, for Emmett and myself. I kept trying to process how my life could possibly continue from that moment, but I didn't know how. When we talk about Death Valley, it's in moments like these. I didn't feel abandoned by God, but my pain was so huge, so immense, that it consumed me. I didn't know it, but my faith and my relationship with God, it changed with that diagnosis. It moved from an infantile, innocent faith, a faith that up to this point hadn't gone through any disorientation, to something much more real, deeper, less about having the right answers to questions about theology or biblical facts, and more about trust. My faith became messier. In my pain, I felt compelled to ask the hard questions of God, to wrestle through things with Him, and all the while, He was and continues to be with me, present, patient, guiding me, prompting me, leading me, like the Good Shepherd. The pain and the disorientation drove away all the pretense. I couldn't fake it anymore, and I didn't want to. Psalm 23 gives me hope. God is with us in our pain. He was with me through it all, and He continues to be with me now, 10 years later. Our story didn't end with that terminal diagnosis. Emmett was a part of a clinical drug trial that saved his life and continues to help kids diagnosed with spinal muscular atrophy to this very day. The one thing that I've learned is that God meets us where we are. And He's able to do this because He took it upon Himself to become human. Every Christmas, we celebrate the coming of Emmanuel, an ancient Hebrew word that means God is with us. As Rob Bell states in his book, What We Talk About When We Talk About God, in Jesus we are given a picture of God who is not distant or detached or indifferent to our pain or uninterested in our condition or uninvolved in our very real struggles in this world, but instead is present among us in Jesus to teach us and help us and suffer with us and give us hope. This isn't the end. Our God, our shepherd, is with us. In the person of Jesus, we are shown what God is like. We can know His voice and follow Him as the Good Shepherd, as Jesus says in John chapter 10, verse 14. I am the Good Shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me. But this requires us to trust. It requires us to be vulnerable, not to fake it. It requires us to be honest and real with ourselves and with God. I believe that God is in everything. He's all around us. He created all of this. He is the sustaining force in the universe, and He is the one who keeps it all together. And I believe that He is calling all of us, humanity, to join Him in transforming the world by becoming more and more like His Son, Jesus. And to me, that's the gospel. That's the good news of Jesus Christ. And this gospel doesn't make sense to most people. Yet there's something powerful, something beautiful, something amazing about it. And to me, it makes the most sense. Jesus came into this world to rescue us by standing up to the unjust structures in His day, by giving His life so that we can live. In John 10, verse 11, it says, I am the good shepherd, and the good shepherd lays down his life for his sheep. What does this actually look like, though? God's transformation of our world seems like a pretty big deal. How can I be part of something that big? And for me, it's as simple and simple. I say simple. It's as simple and as difficult as doing the next right thing. Having the courage to be honest with your spouse. Parenting your kids not out of frustration or a fear, but out of love. Helping your neighbor by lending them some tools. Starting up a conversation with a friend who you haven't connected with in a while. Getting out of your comfort zone. Including others. Fighting for justice for those who cannot fight for themselves. What I've noticed is that God is at work in the mundane and the everyday aspects of our lives, just as much as the monumentous occasions. As a kid, I would go on youth retreats or to camp and be so excited to follow Jesus. But when I got home, that excitement quickly faded, and I fell back into my same old rhythms and routines. Faith was real at those retreats, but when I got home, it didn't seem as real. What I didn't understand was that God wasn't with me any more or any less when I was at camp or at a retreat. I simply had the time and the space to engage with him there in a different way than I did at home. I needed to adjust how I saw God and how I looked for him and identified his work in my life in different contexts. I needed a shift in my perspective. I'm praying for all of you watching or listening to this video that you can experience the presence of God in your lives and that you will have the eyes to see him at work. He is there. And if this isn't where you are at, if all this seems too difficult or too painful for you right now, that's okay. That's the beauty of a community of believers. We can lean on each other when we don't have the strength. Let others be your strength right now. Let your brothers and your sisters carry you as we all follow and sometimes stumble after Jesus together. I love this verse in Revelation 7, verse 17. For the Lamb at the center of the throne will be their shepherd. He will lead them to springs of living water, and God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. As we end our time together, I hope you have been encouraged and that you are able to open yourself up to what God is doing in your life this week, this month, this year. I want to read Psalm 23 again to you one more time. And since I have 2 kids, 10 and 3, what better way to do it than end our time reading from the Jesus Storybook Bible? Psalm 23. God is my shepherd, and I am his little lamb. He feeds me, he guides me, he looks after me. I have everything I need. Inside my heart is very quiet as lying still in soft green grass in a meadow by a little stream. Even when I walk through the dark and scary, lonely places, I won't be afraid, because my shepherd knows where I am. He is here with me. He keeps me safe. He rescues me. He makes me strong and brave. He's getting wonderful things ready for me, especially for me, everything I ever dreamed of. He fills my heart so full of happiness, I can't hold it all inside. Wherever I go, I know that God's never stopping, never giving up, unbreaking, always, and forever loved too. Amen.